Welcome back to my channel, and today I will be doing my first episode of Pimp This Ride. So this will be Pimp This Ride episode 1, and today I will be pimping this 2010 Mio URS. So this isn't part of any DLC, this is just a normal vehicle you should be able to get in the game. And just to get started, I'm just going to go ahead and start by checking into some aftermarket parts as far as the lights and the tail lights, kind of comparing them to what we have up front. We want to pimp it good. We want to pimp it right, you know. If you're going to pimp it, you got to pimp it. Sure you feel what I'm saying. I kind of like those lights over the aftermarkets. Any day. I will take this right in there. And let's check that rear bumper. Rear bumper C looks kind of right. I don't know. Maybe take that low profile look. Now we'll take the big one. The front C, I'm not even certain that this is a C. It doesn't look like it, so we're just gonna put that C on there. Looks better. And get the original license. Alright, so that looks a little bit better than it did before, even on the side shot you can see there. Let's check out the hood. Yeah, definitely go with that. You want to get that hood changed up. That looks carbon fiber as it is right there. That changed up. Off to a good start. Now what I like to do is I like to measure out the wheels and the tires to see really what the largest ones I'd be able to get on this vehicle are. So, oh, that was the brake disc. And, gosh, why does that say Mazda? This is not even a DLC, but I'm certain that's the Mazda symbol, right? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments there. It's been known to happen. So all the tires and rims are the same on each one. Looks like these are 16-inch. I'm going to go ahead and separate them, as I will be replacing at the very least the rims with some new rims. There's 16 here, so what I'm going to try to do is go up to like 20-inch rims, like that song back in the day. Anybody who grew up in the 90s will know what I'm talking about. Alright, so that's 16. Let's go over here and check. Well, before we check out the rim shop, we do want to get some 20-inch rims. 20 inches. Let's see what we have available for 20 inches in the warehouse. And for this process, this is just testing it out. So any rim that is 20 inches will do. It doesn't really matter about the style because we're not going to keep it. We're just testing it out to see if it even fits on the vehicle. Rim 2, this is 20 inch. So we'll take that, and we'll also need a 20 inch tire, preferably the low profile that we're looking for, but it's not completely necessary, as if a normal profile fits on it, that'll give us what we need, just not quite as accurate. And worst comes to worst, we could always go ahead and purchase a 20-inch tire. Probably just purchase the one that we would be putting on there. It looks like we may need to do that, because unbelievably enough, out of all the tires I have in there, none of them are 20 inches. So I'm just gonna put a sports tire on it for the look, you know. Sport tire. Could go with slicks, but I'm not really gonna be racing it, so I don't see the point in spending the extra funds. 20 inches. Width is not relevant, but what we could do, we can go with 20 inch. I'm trying to think if I want them wider. Honestly, I don't think it's relevant for this build, so we'll just go with this one. And this one. Look how good those look. Way too small. We're gonna need to make those 27s. 27s. I was worried it might be too small with the low profile. You could always fit more rim on there than tire. Reason I go into the warehouse is because I don't much care for buying rims I'm not gonna use, especially when they're rims I'm looking for half the time are extremely expensive. You know, I don't have like over $1 million most days for no reason. 19, the best I'm seeing in inventory is 24 or 25. So I might just try out those 25s and see how they fit. in conjunction with a 25-inch tire, which I doubt if I even have. I got like a bunch of 15s and 14s there. 20-inch, but not a 25. Not a 2 motherfucking 5. So, I'm gonna have to purchase another tire. For the time being, let's separate that. Get a sports tire. This one at 25. Let's low profile that. And for this, we'll put on 25. The low profile. 25. See how good that looks? Looks good. It looks right. You'll feel it when it's right. You'll always feel it when it's right. Oh, see? I think like 27's alright, but 28 is probably going to be where the mark is. So I'm just going to get some 28s on this. Let's buy 4 rims at 28. But before we do that, let's get these 4 tires at 28. I've never actually pimped out an SUV before, and it looks like the largest we can go is 25 on the sports tire. Oh, that's lame. Let me see if we can get any larger on any other type of tire. Sure, vintage wouldn't have it. Race tire might. Slicks don't have it. Wow, 25, the most we'll be able to get. Okay. Well, that's mildly disappointing. But if that's the case, we already got one of them, right? And we got 3 of them. We got 3 of them. So, let me see about the rims. Rims. Rims still spinning. You gotta pull up, and you gotta stop, and you gotta turn your spinners on. That's what you do when you got the finances, which I ain't never had. Not one day a month. Live. Trying not to cuss, because they say with the YouTube algorithm, if you cuss within like the first, I think it's, what is it, 8 to 10 minutes or something, your algorithm goes down, I guess, in the views. And one day I hope to monetize, so I try to keep it clean as much as possible. Even though I think making it dirty would add value to the channel. Some days, anyway. I mean, I didn't get much sleep last night because my neighbors are terrible. And, they're loud at night. I don't live in the most wealthy of neighborhoods, so, they're loud at night probably because they gotta, they get off late, or they don't work. So, they stay up, they're probably, doing whatever, probably drinking, smoking, partying, how poor people do. Uh, well, we all do, because I'm one of them. So, when I was in my 20s, I did that same shit. So, I kind of understand where they're coming from. But, you know, I was also respectful to people who asked me to keep it down. But, you know, respect is going the way of the dinosaurs, so kids are coming up in a different world these days. And that's unfortunate, both for them and the world. You know, it is what it is. Some of us, you know, we can't deal with that. I'd be happy to work my way out of it if I could get a job, you know. Alright, so I think this is the rim we're going to go with, and honestly, I think I go with this rim very often when I'm looking to pimp out a ride. I can't say for certain. Whereas we got that 25-inch rim. Ugh. Kind of looks like the flower of life, doesn't it? Flower of style, man. You know what I don't like about it right off the bat? It's the kind of rounded edges of that tire due to the nature of the low profile tires. I mean, some builds it looks right, but when I'm thinking about an SUV, I'm probably looking for more of a square tire to it, square tire format. Guess maybe next time I'll go with a higher profile than the one I went with this time. That really doesn't pull it off, I think, as far as the sleek, well, sleek but rough look I'm going for, you know. When I'm building this ride, I want to think of it more like a smoking ride, like something you'd go out, cruise around, and smoke it. Like that California style. Or maybe that, honestly, it might correlate more with East Coast, the style I'm going for. They have really nice rides on there. Ah. You know, with this low profile look, you could make it work if the rim was bigger. That's the thing. Like, if you can get a 28-inch rim on this, that would fit. That would fit with that rounded look. Because it would go up under the fender and the wheel well. Well, the wheel well in general. But, this kind of looks candy-ish. That ain't the look I'm trying to go for, but I'm sure we could work around it. Let's go ahead and remove this before I get it into the paint shop. See what we could do with it. Definitely gonna go with a metallic look no matter what we do. Honestly, seeing all these palette types, I think I'm gonna go with that lime green look. Right there seems alright. Not going to go with any liberties on this, as they do seem tacky when you're looking at a ride like this. See how this looks on its leg. Oh yeah. Now let's get those windows tinted. Whew. That's got style. I'm not digging the trunk as much. Unfortunately, we can't replace that. Alright, so I'm just gonna add that. Add this to the list. And we're just gonna try and work on the engine a little bit. Shouldn't have to work on it too much to pull off the look we're looking for. But we're just gonna remove this, pretty much all visible chrome parts that have the aftermarket option. We'll also replace that filter, get a aftermarket one in there. Oof. That's definitely not the look I'm going for. I was hoping to get a chrome throttle too, but no, thank you. And got that chrome fuel rail. Well, it just kind of slides on there, I guess. Now when we're looking at it, we're gonna see this. But you know what? We're also gonna see that full exhaust. And before we look underneath it, let me check on something. See, I think this might have a turbo. No, it's designed to fit one though. We'll go ahead and remove that. And when we do put that back in, we're going to put it aftermarket. So that way when you remove the cover, it'll still be pimped. You know, that's important for the pimping of the ride. And these parts are going to be visible in the front of the engine. So what I want to do is I want to just replace this water pump as well as this alternator with aftermarket as well. And in order to replace the water pump, we will need to remove it, obviously. So we do want to drain our coolant before doing that. And then we'll go ahead and remove that. can kind of see this in the back too, so we'll add that to the list and get that pimped out properly. We're going to add the full exhaust. That way if somebody should have to look under the vehicle looking for a flaw in the pimping of said vehicle, they will not find one. You know what? Because they might even look through the engine and they might see that gearbox and deem that unworthy of the name Pimp. So we're going to go ahead and remove these front tires again, just so we can get to the drive axle. Both of the drive axles, which connect to the drive shaft, and then connect to the gearbox, which is what we're going to need to take off. Now, it varies, but on some engines you actually have to access the starter from the top, which unfortunately looks like it's going to be the case here. So we'll do that. And while we have those off, we're also going to go ahead and remove the rear wheels, because what we want to do is we want to replace those rotors with some aftermarket rotors, because with these rims you can kind of see through them, and you're going to see those rotors there. So if you're going to see the rotors, you do want to make sure they're properly pimped. You got to pimp them, you got to make them come off aggressive. So we're going to remove all those. Now if you're looking to do this yourself, you do want to make sure you have at least a spare, I'd say like 70 to 100,000, because some of these parts, depending on what vehicle you're working with, especially with the rims and the gearbox, can get expensive. Alright, so we got those removed. Now let's go ahead and get that gearbox off. Over here. We'll add that to the list. Now I'm not going to worry about the clutch assembly, but if you were, you could also get an aftermarket clutch assembly. All of them except for this clutch release bearing. And gearbox 4x4. Brake disc. Alright, so that's probably not going to come up, which is fine. Any of these brake discs will actually work for the job. We're looking for the best looking one. Kind of like the look of these. They're drilled, but then this kind of goes with the rim a little better. That black inner style of it kind of pulls it off well. Yeah, I didn't think we would have those calibers. But what I will do is go ahead and paint the calibers ultimately. Oh, brake disc, throttle wasn't in there. Already got the exhaust manifold. Need that water pump, which will be an electric if I'm not mistaken. I guess they don't have one available for this one. Aftermarket. So we'll go with the alternator. Power steering pump. Front exhaust. Catalytic. Middle muffler. And the exhaust pipe. Now, the exhaust itself wasn't too expensive, as you can see there. And that goes a long way with that chrome look to it. And let me see, I don't believe we can get an aftermarket drive shaft, but let's check it out anyway. Yeah. I would like to see that become a thing. That was weird. You see how those screws disappeared? We're going to count that in the list of a bug or a hack, or that list is getting pretty extensive, wouldn't you say? I know I would. And you can comment in the comments below if you think it is. If you've seen some of my previous videos, I point out quite a few instances where that may be the case. Or in my streams, I'll point them out sometimes. Though I try not to. It does kind of get to me from time to time. Alright, so you'll notice I did leave out those calibers. That is because I'm going to paint them in an effort to pimp them out properly. I do want to see this vehicle's look again. Kind of got a good idea of what I would like to paint them. I think I'm just going to go with that same lime green, or an offshoot of it. Kind of make it look a little bit nicer, more pimp, you know. Get that pimp appeal to it. Some of these cars I wish I could take from the game and just teleport them out to real life. And there's a way to do it, but it's not that easy, as we're all aware of. Alright, so that's one. Got about 3 more to go. Feel free to fast forward past this part if you'd like. There's one of the green ones. That's not. Cylinder's not too much of a concern, as you know, you can't even see it. But you could always paint that as well if you choose to, as well as the brake disc. I just choose to keep the brake disc like it is as a performance part. That way when you look in at it, you're looking at a performance brake disc that's ventilated, and it stops better too if you happen to take it on the track. Or not ventilated, but vented is what they refer to it as. Or drilled, however you want to word it. Because what happens is when the brake pad runs over the brake disc, it's forming friction. And when friction is formed on a flat surface, it will grab onto it. But if you put drill holes into the rotor, it'll actually increase the suction. It's kind of what happens, the best way I could word it anyway. In which case it will then increase your braking ability overall by a significant margin. That's why when you look at those fancy Mercedes vehicles, a lot of the time, even stock, they'll come with those vented brake discs. So, you know, when you come upon an onlooker that just gets struck by the look of your vehicle, and they just stop in the street, you know, and they don't realize where they are, like a deer in the headlights, you know. And you could have that extra stopping power just to stop, you know, slow and steady, just so they can get a good look at it, you know. Like that Ludacris song back in the day. 2 miles an hour, so everybody sees. Oh, looks like we're gonna need to add that. There we go. And you know what? Just to pull off this style, I'm gonna see if it'll allow us. I'm really not certain it will. I know it won't allow us to keep off that exhaust manifold cover if we want to take it to the track, but I'm going to see if it'll allow us to do it when we put it into the parking garage. Because honestly, it really pays towards the looks of the vehicle to keep that off, in my opinion. And if you disagree with me, please feel free to comment below. I really appreciate any commentation, whether it be negative, positive, maybe in between. I'd be interested in hearing what you think. Alright, so now when you look through it, you're gonna see all the shiny parts there, and you're like, oh, but you know, there's gotta be something wrong. Let's look at that gearbox, and you're like, oh no, that's aftermarket too. So even the haters can't hate. But you know what the haters might do is they might look in the back here and they might look at this fuel pump. And they'll be like, oh, there it's at, you know, that's not aftermarket. And in which case, we could tell them that the aftermarket variant of said fuel pump is all black. You know, it might give you that performance bonus, but the all white, that just pops. You know, and while that all white might pop more, you know, I'm kind of thinking we might have to do something with that fuel tank too. Because what if somebody gets this up on a lift you know, they find it in the barn like 20 years ago, and by that point it'll be a classic, you know. They won't know who owned it or nothing like that, but they're gonna want to look at it and they're gonna want to see what it looks like. And when somebody pulls it out, sees what it looks like anywhere, you know, whether that be in a barn, a storage unit, you know, they're looking at it in the show, I want them to see that that fuel tank looks just as pimp as the rest of the ride. You know, I want to increase that uniformly across the whole ride, not just the body parts, not just the engine, not just the interior. You want to feel that. And I think to increase that feeling, you got to pimp out that fuel tank too. So let's see, and I believe you can, but let's see if we can get that fuel tank painted properly. So we can go lime green, you know, but kind of thinking the metallic black. But then again, it wouldn't be unique, so let's just go with that lime green look to it. Perfect, perfect. Alright, so let's go and bring that down here. And we're gonna take a look. Oh, they look in the back, they see, oh, that fuel pump, fuel tank in this, you know, make out. Because in real life, you wouldn't be able to see the fuel tank from the front, but, you know, in the game. And now you can lift it up, and you can see that that fuel tank is on point too. Like somebody really cared about this vehicle. What I'm gonna do, now that we finish that, we're just gonna go ahead and finish by putting all these in. Got those in there. Alright, so I'm just gonna go ahead and see about pulling out these seats here. What I'm trying to do is go for a more bucket seat look to it. And with the seats, honestly, it's hit and a miss. It's really not going to give you any idea of what bucket seat you might be able to fit in it. Just kind of have to try it and see if it works. In this case, I'm just going to try to go with these. Again, this one, the seat leather, I like the red color to it. Seat 7, leather E. And for the steering wheel, on this build, we want to pull out the pimpest of looks. So we're gonna go with that maple wood. I'm thinking when we do that maple wood, we want this one. Steering wheel 18. Alright, we'll keep the bench black in the back just to show a clear differential. Normally I wouldn't go with that not unified look, but I think for this build it might work out. Now you got that when you look inside it. You see, even that's done right. Seats kind of match the rear tail lights. Comes off well. And with that, let's go ahead and take a picture of that final product here. From there. And we also want to look at the engine. Make sure we get a picture of that. And with that, that will complete the first episode of Pimp This Ride. So that will complete Pimp This Ride episode 1. And if you like this video, please feel free to leave a like. I do appreciate any commentation, whether that be negative or positive. And if you'd like to see more of this content, please feel free to subscribe. And have a great day.